next week.
Next.
As soon as the lake closes. So I need something to keep my head warm.
Well, I still got her Floby.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the workshop of the County Commissioners. Will you all please rise for the pledge? Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on our agenda today is we have a discussion as it's related to the B1 Energy Letter of Support. And I see Mr. Armstrong on the Zoom link and Colby early. I'm not sure I see that person, but with that, go ahead, Mr. Armstrong.
Sorry, had to unmute myself there for a moment. Thank you, everyone, for having us. Delighted to be here and given the opportunity to speak to this, and really happy and congratulatory of Mel and Travis and Colby for giving us the tour of your landfill and allowing us to come down and take a look at your operations. And just wanted to say off the bat, well done. As you'll see in my presentation here, which I'm going to give really briefly, you guys are doing a lot more than a lot of other rural communities, and give yourself a round of applause for that. And we're excited to hopefully step in and work with you and potentially make it better. And so with that, I will hopefully share my screen, or maybe not. I can just speak to what we do. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share my screen or not to do a quick PowerPoint.
Yeah, we'll give that to you here in just a minute.
Sure.
Okay, try that, Mr. Armstrong.
Okay. It's still saying host disabled, participant screen sharing.
Okay, try that.
There we go. Everyone see this just fine?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you. B1 Energy got started about 2 years ago. We're located in Chaffee County. We live in Salida, and we had lost our material recovery facility, our local recycling center, as a result of one, mismanagement and poor sorting techniques, technology that had a lot of inefficiencies. Other than that, coupled with some market forces during that time that presented a scenario that a lot of small material recovery facilities weren't able to survive. And so when that happened, we immediately jumped at the issue and thought about, how can we improve rural recycling systems? And as we dug into this, we just started to find out more and more that Colorado is in a really bad place. Generally speaking, 70% of the state currently doesn't have access to recycling systems or doesn't have the necessary infrastructure to be able to do it. And so I blurred out some of these images here because I didn't want you getting bogged down with some of the details. But this is from Recycle Colorado, and basically saying that we're only at about a 16% diversion rate statewide, meaning of all the materials you could recycle or reuse, only 16% of those are actually getting recycled. And so we wanted to come up with a new way of doing things. And what we landed on was an integrated model that not only uses renewable energy, but also advanced recycling systems. That being said, it's an expensive system to put in place, and it's a big ask for communities to fork up that type of system without first having some sort of data or a needs assessment or analysis done. And so since we designed our first system, we then came and landed on this, which is called the Roadie, and we partnered with Revolution Systems, who's the technology provider that manufactures this, and they currently have one that's operating on the East Coast. But what this is a fully functioning material recovery facility that can deploy in multiple counties. It fits in the back of a trailer, can get pulled by a 1-ton pickup, deploys on site, and this allows us to do education and outreach, divert material immediately while certain systems are upgraded, changed, or added to an existing recycling platform, as well as service events. You know, if you have a county fair, you have a large event where lots of people are coming in, and there's going to be a surplus of waste materials coming in the county. This can deploy there, and it functions like a fully capable MRF does. And so that's the model we're actually launching with right now. And so why we're actually talking with you is to get letters of support. We've gotten one from Lake County. We're working with Chaffey County, obviously, and your neighbors down in Archuleta County. But what that's doing is allowing us to actually reduce investor risk and boost confidence to be able to allow us to actually purchase the equipment. So we're in the startup stages right now in the initial talks with a lot of these different communities to gauge what their support level would be and how interested they are in developing some of these systems. This being an early adoption model that allows a community to come in, increase their diversion rate, get the material recovery data they would need to then down the road implement different types of technology to boost that diversion rate. And so what we're working on as far as the permanent facility goes, right now in Chaffey County, it's a little bit up in the air, but initially we were working with the Buena Vista Correctional Complex and installing a permanent system there where you have the recycling complex that does all of the glass, plastic, paper, cardboard, all your standard recycled materials, as well as being able to process waste organics through an anaerobic digestion system. What they were really excited about was being able to deploy that system really close to their boiler, so provide the heat, power, and hot water to the rest of their facility. Since we got into this proposal with them, Chaffey County actually won a $4 million grant from the EPA. And so we're still figuring out where that kind of is landing. But the point is, same with the state of Colorado. The federal government is looking pretty heavily into recycle diversion rate. As a country, we're very much behind the rest of the world as far as systems and how much we're actually diverting. And we're looking a lot more towards circular economics. And typically the last people to benefit from these systems or this federal money is rural communities. So it was a big win that Chaffey County won that money from the EPA, but also a signal that we don't have to be left behind and that there is money out there right now to invest in these systems and to boost this technology so we can establish this infrastructure sooner rather than later. And so just because people like pretty pictures, this is what the inside of the recycle facility would look like. Very similar to the mobile unit you saw, but this is a little bit larger and it's obviously fixed in place. And so the point of all of this and what we get really excited about is not only just stopping stuff from entering the ground, but then what happens to this material once you've recycled it. And, you know, our dream is that now all these rural communities, Montezuma County included, is going to be sitting on huge bales of plastic, aluminum, glass, whatever it might be. And you can then attract manufacturers to move nearby. And so you can take that lower value commodity and process it slightly more to a higher degree and have a lot more fungible, higher revenue material that you can sell straight to the marketplace, or you can attract a manufacturer to operate, create more jobs, and become the foundation of those circular economics, which is what recycling aims to do. So that's it. We really appreciate your time. We're happy to answer any questions. I hope I wasn't moving too quickly. But what we've identified, in our visit with Montezuma County is, one, there's improvements that can be made on the actual sorting and efficiency side. So how many times that material gets touched before it ends up in a finished bale to be shipped, as well as you're doing a huge renovation and improvement around waste organics. And so the anaerobic digestion portion of our process, we think, would greatly benefit Montezuma County, not only in its ability to increase throughput, so you can take more material and you can process it faster, but then you're also left with a higher quality finished product in the form of liquid organic fertilizer, soil amendment, which is effectively compost, as well as offsetting all of your electric, heat and power costs at the landfill facility. And so with that, we'd love to answer some questions or provide more clarity.
All right, thank you, John.
And I will stop sharing my screen.
I actually have one question. One of the first comments that you made as we started this slideshow, you said that the diversion rate as a state is only at 15%. Did I hear that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, so with the diversion rate of only 15% as a state, what is the diversion goal as a state? What are they trying to achieve? Or
So last year, the goal was 32%. And from a statewide standpoint, CDPHE's goal by 2030 is 100%, or 100% access, 50% diversion rate. So they want to have every citizen having access to it by 2030. And then I think 2050 is 100% diversion rate, but they might not have actually come up with a overall goal, but I know last year it was 32%. So we got about half statewide goal. And so that's where the ERP or EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Act, that CDPHE passed, and hopefully it gets passed again in March. But that's a funding unit to be able to fund CDPHE to give money to different municipalities to invest in this infrastructure.
So my next question then is, what primarily, because there are several different things that are recyclable, are they targeting cardboard? Are they targeting paper? Are they targeting number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 plastics? What is the target? Because at some point in time, without a return on investment, obviously our landfill is a enterprise function of the county. So I guess if it's not subsidized, how would that benefit us as a county and with the diversion rate? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the more you divert, the more money you can make. The revenue model that we came up with is based on, 1, a tip fee model, and then 2, revenue that's gotten from selling the commodities you bale. So if you have more baled commodity, you're selling more into the marketplace, you're generating more revenue. On top of that, if you're charging a tip fee for people to recycle or to use your facility, you make revenue off of that tip fee as well. So, we based our equipment and our model, and that's what obviously we would share with you at the, in due time. But that's based on a much smaller population than is actually in Montezuma County. So we found kind of the threshold of a population that would be kind of break even to make one of these systems work is around 15,000 people.
So a break even, so then your cost, you're saying, which obviously you're not sharing with us today, would be around 15,000 people to put this roadie to work to be just at a break even. 15,000 people.
So, yeah, no, so that's for the fixed facility.
Oh,
The
okay.
roadie actually is profitable a lot sooner and smaller than that. So we're talking about, a $700,000 piece of equipment versus a $5 million plus facility.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so and I want to be clear, on our ask at this point, that we're not asking Montezuma County to purchase
Right.
one of these pieces of equipment or do that. We're simply looking for a letter of support so that we can purchase one. And then in the future, if it's beneficial to the county, if it can boost your diversion rate, educate more people to increase participation, improve efficiency on sorting, then it would be a service contract, and then we would be able to provide data and do that stuff.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand that. We're just talking about a letter of support. So those were just the questions. I was just curious of how the data all comes together. But anyway, commissioners, do you have any?
I've got one comment. This letter of support is unusual in that we're really writing it to a private company that's a startup, that then they're going to take this letter and take it out to investors to potentially get investments. My concern with this letter is it gives an illusion that Montezuma County is going to be on board with this if and when this company gets up and running with this roadie machine. And maybe we will, maybe we won't. There's nothing illegal about signing this letter of support, but at the same time, this is a completely private enterprise, and it certainly would be somewhat unusual for the Board of County Commissioners as a political body to throw their weight behind what in essence is a startup for recycling, trying to get private investors to invest in a private company. It's just different than what we usually see, and it certainly casts an illusion that we're on board with this. And so maybe we are, maybe we aren't. I mean, that's really for you guys to decide, for the landfill to decide. But I don't love the idea of, the government body sort of, in essence, saying to investors, hey, invest in this because then, we'll jump in and give you a return on your investment.
Colby? I couldn't see part of your one image there. Does this include electronics?
It will.
Okay.
Well, and it's kind of whatever, we would want to decide, or, whatever systems you'd like to see in place is what we would come up with. But to address kind of the concern, there's no confusion on the investors' part. They're very clear that a letter of support is a non-binding agreement. So it's, I hear what you're saying, and it's more of here's a potential problem or something a county or government entity has identified as, hey, this is either a bottleneck in the future or something that we're interested in solving. And we're identifying B1 as potentially a solution for that, but to figure out in the future. So yes, it's not pulling the veil over an investor. They know very well that's not a signed, sealed, delivered contract that guarantees business. It's more just saying, hey, this is a county. They potentially have a problem they want solving or improved upon. And we're recognizing that B1 may or may not be able to solve that for us, or that what they want to see is there's a market and there's a need for it. At this point, not that there's a finalized contract with a county. And so that's what Lake County, followed through. So you guys aren't the first one. This will actually be number 2 for us. And I'm happy, and I think I provided Lake County's letter of support to Travis and Colby prior to this meeting. So I don't know if you had seen that or not, but I just, I wanted to throw that out there and obviously talk to you about, if that is still a concern and, happy to address it.
I've got, Mel, a question for you. Do you have any concerns or comments or anything? I mean, you obviously are the landfill expert here, so.
I don't have any concerns with it. It's something that's coming. The state and the EPA, they're mandating this stuff. It's coming down just like you said. I think their big benefit is to help communities like Archuleta where they have nothing, and maybe in the future help us because we're growing. And at the rate we're growing at the landfill, that facility eventually is going to be closed, but we can always continue to recycle, especially the organics like he's talking about. So it's coming. It may not help us right now, but it dang sure will help us in the future, I think, depending on how this community and county grows.
Mel, are there a lot of companies out there that are doing similar things to this company in terms of, I mean, obviously this is going to be something big coming. This is not the only company that's out there, right?
There's some other, so we're kind of isolated down here in the Four Corners. The Front Range is way ahead on this game. As far as recycling, they take 1 through 7s. They have markets for them. We don't. And because of state mandates, we have to move 75% of everything we collect in recycling over a 3-year rolling average. That's why we only accept 1s and 2s, cardboard, paper, and stuff like that. It's because we can move it. The other items we can't. Nobody wants it, especially from this area. It's not worth it for them.
So it takes up space in our landfill.
Correct, it does. The community is getting better at sorting, but I have a tip floor right now full of a couple loads from Four Corners Recycling Initiative that all has to be sorted. And I'd say probably 40% of that will be trash because it's,
At
people
least.
have the mentality, it's plastic, it's recyclable, and that's not true. So that's the issue we have. So, and what are the questions you have?
Well, if I may jump in, there isn't another company out there like us that we've found. Waste haulers and the waste industry in general is owned basically by 5 companies. And their interest is in larger municipalities, like Mel said, Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins. They're concerning themselves with population densities of 100,000 or more people at minimum. So they're not focused on any of the rural areas, and certainly none of them have the technology that we've sourced and that we're working with and have contracts with for deploying equipment that's actually designed for smaller populations. Most of the equipment out there came out of the 70s, and it's designed for 1 million plus more people to process thousands of tons of material. It's only really recently that some of these systems have been adopted to be smaller, and only one that we've found, that's Revolution Systems in Denver, that's working with us for the recycling side of things.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I
Gentlemen.
don't.
Do you? All right, well, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. At this point in time, we don't have any further questions.
Perfect. Well, and again, thank you for your time, Mel. Great to see you. Please, give me a phone call, send an email if you think of anything, and we're, happy to answer it as quickly as possible.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
All right.
gentlemen.
Take care.
Okay. I see Justin stepped out, so we'll, discussion related to the Fair Board members' application letters. I guess we saw several come through, by this weekend. I think we had 4 or 5 total, along with the one that we had previously. Do you guys want to set up interviews for this, or how do you want to slice this? We've got several. We've got two vacancies, right, Travis? Is that correct still?
2 or 3.
There's 3 vacancies, and what
Oh,
they're
no,
looking for is to fill the 3 and then have 1 or 2 alternates.
How many applications do you have?
1, 2, 3, 5.
Okay.
So we had Kristen Sproul,
Yep.
Tiffany Small.
Yep.
Haley Harrison. David Spiegel. And
Trent Carver was the last one that I remember reading.
Trent Carver.
So we set up pretty quick and simple interviews last time. Do you guys want, I mean, how do you want to do it?
We can interview them. I mean,
So
is there any recommendation from the Fair Board itself?
I don't think they can recommend.
Okay.
These are by appointment by the board. So
Yeah.
if you want to do that, let's just set up as, I think we try to always get them full before December, because I think in December is when they start, or in January is when they get rocking and rolling again. Is that correct, Justin?
I think they like to have them by now, though.
Yeah. The sooner the better.
So,
Well, part of the issue is the fact that, just like the last time, they didn't even have a quorum to do anything. And I got a phone call from a young lady that was very upset because they wouldn't make a decision about,
because they can't.
they couldn't make a decision. And they had already put her off from the meeting before. So she was really upset about the fact that they,
And they meet every third Monday? Third Monday, correct? So I guess we better get going, because this is the end of the month, so just set them up either on a Monday or Tuesday afternoon. What do you guys want? We're just giving direction to Travis. We're not making any decisions, so.
Set it up in a workshop on a Monday, how's that?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
just set up on a Monday afternoon and then work after the workshop or whatever, or during the workshop. Just set it up.
Sounds good. All right, Travis, there you go. Give you that direction for that, and we'll get those done, and then we can vote on them the following day, really.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now I'm gonna go back. I see Justin in the room. So we'll talk about, the suppression system.
So Cooper was gonna be here today, Irick was, and they got their wires crossed or something. I just got off the phone with him, but he can come in tomorrow if you guys would like, and in that way we could do, you know, a little bit more Q&A with him on some of this stuff, because he understands it way more than I do. But basically, this is kind of what he sent us, just to kind of give you a start. We went ahead and did our flow tests here a while back, was able to get those, so they did get them completed. Basically, what they're recommending, if we want to go down this path, is to add an FDC near that backflow preventer that we have up at the front. That would supply water for just the arena part on a dry system. But then we would still have to convert the meeting rooms and all that on the east side of the building to a wet system. But that would give us a full system across the whole building. Just some of it would be wet, the arena part would be dry. There'd be two risers basically. There'd be the riser there for the wet system, and then we'd have to put in pipe from that FDC to supply the arena. This is kind of a breakdown of their,
So let me ask you,
go ahead.
let me stop right there, because I'm gonna So
I
when
know
we
where
were
you're
out
going,
there, we were talking about putting the FDC just on the opposite side of the road so that an engine could get in there and supply that FDC, correct?
Yeah, but I think they were okay with us putting it right next to,
To that
basically our
box?
meter. Yep. They
Okay.
were okay with that because it's fenced in, it's protected, and the truck could still hook up to that and get to our,
Okay,
or get to Montezuma Water's,
hydrant.
hydrant. Yeah, exactly. So I think they were okay with that. That's what it sounded like. And then we would obviously have to run pipe from that FDC to our building.
Correct.
Yep.
Which is kind of what we,
I'm kind of confused.
well,
We're
so
not talking about putting an FDC right there at the building, are we?
No.
Okay.
it would
no.
be on the little road, the little,
Yeah, so when you first drive into the
Archery
fairgrounds,
access
right
road.
there to your left, right there where the trees are to the left.
Right.
There's kind of an
An
area
island.
that's, yeah, exactly. You got it. So right in there is where that FDC would go.
Okay.
It would be protected from people driving, so nobody hits it, backs into it, things like that. It would be behind a rail.
Yeah, right.
so that would then be the dry system to supply
Yep.
the
That,
arena.
that's the way I understand it. And that's why I wish Iric was here so he could kind of, give you the definite answers. Because all I got was really what he sent me back in the email.
So then you're saying that we have enough flow and pressure to supply the wet area right now the way it is?
That's
Correct?
that's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like. I haven't got a definite answer on that. But the way he explained it to me was basically we could leave the wet system the way it is and then put in a dry system with an FDC. And then that would basically fall under what they call an ordinary hazard group, which is the same as like an automobile showroom or something like that, the way he was kind of explaining it to me. And then if we wanted to go down that road, he kind of gave us an itemized list here, just a look at cost. So it'd be an extra 109,000 or something like that. Now that doesn't include the FDC or us putting the pipe from the FDC to the building, so that would be additional.
Is that 4-inch or 6-inch?
That I don't know. I really don't know. And again, I mean, if you guys want me, I can come back tomorrow, and he said he could make it in tomorrow morning if we wanted to kind of go over this during our BOCC meeting tomorrow. That way he can kind of give you guys a little bit more answers to some of these questions and a little bit more of an overview on exactly what we can do with this. But this seemed like the only option that we can go down
If we
to.
want to
To do the whole
sprinkle
building.
the arena.
Yeah.
If we do not sprinkle the arena, I guess
Then-
I'm going back to where Kent was at here. And I'm gonna ask this question again. We have enough static pressure off of the 4-inch line to supply the wet system of just the east side, is that correct?
That one, I don't know 100%.
Get
Yep.
him in here tomorrow and question.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's why I was hoping he was gonna be here to kind of
Okay,
let us know yes or no on that, because I really didn't get those exacts. But I assume so. But,
because I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at these costs and we've talked about this in the past before. If it's just the arena area and it's a dry system and we can still do a fire watch through the specifically high event shows that we have.
yep,
Correct?
exactly, yep. And we do.
So, I mean, really, we're sprinkling dirt and metal.
Well, that's
that
also
point
gonna
in
come
time.
back to whether or not,
Don't you want to save your banner?
It could burn.
the other part of this is whether or not it's going to be okayed by somebody like
state.
Cortez
Yeah.
Fire Protection. Yeah, exactly. So they have to okay our plans on what we come up with. So as long as they're okay with us going down, just doing those meeting rooms and not doing the arena, then we can do that.
I think then we need a few more questions
Okay.
answered because we were always under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we didn't have enough
That's the way I understood it.
supply.
And that's the way I understood it too, until we kind of got all these flow tests done, and then he came back with this. So, I'm
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Get him
Okay.
That was going to kind of be my question today too to him was, are we okay to just run one dedicated line for the dry system and then use what we have for the wet system? So, and
I
if we
mean,
go
the
down
dry
that route.
system, if it's going to only really just do the arena,
But maybe he wants both of them in the same dedicated line too.
Yeah.
That could have been where he was going
Okay.
with this.
Yeah.
get
Just
him,
one side has to be wet and one side
get
has to.
him here tomorrow.
Okay.
So
I'll have him. He said he can make it tomorrow first thing, so I'll just have him come
be
tomorrow.
under unfinished business. So
Perfect. Okay.
because there's
And this is above my understanding with it all. So I mean, getting him in here would be the best. Way.
well, I mean, I looked at this and I looked at it pretty closely because everything that we were told since we started this forever
Mm-hmm.
is that we didn't have enough flow.
Yep.
But
And
now with the flow piece of it correct and the 4-inch line that we have going in, it sounds like we're adequate for the east side.
the east side, and we may be because we weren't able to get flow tests in the past from that hydrant that was out there off the main, and they were able
Correct.
to do that now. So I don't know if that played into it. I really don't. But
Okay.
'Kay.
Get him here tomorrow.
yep, we'll
All
be
right.
in tomorrow then.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Justin. All right, next. I guess, Mr. Dober, you're gonna do this? All right.
I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon. I am presenting on a community wildfire defense grant that we are planning or would like to submit. I just want to give a little bit of background on the process. So in late 2021, Montezuma County, as well as all the municipalities, approved the community, it's a CWPP, which is Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And that's part of a federal program basically to find a way to make communities more proactive in protecting against wildfire. We know that's clearly an issue in Montezuma County. So the emergency manager, I think, launched that process and has worked with various groups throughout the community. The DWARF, which is the Dolores Watershed Forestry Collaborative, and the Wildfire Adapted Partnerships, as well as the fire protection districts and municipalities. And this program, this federal grant program, will help us kind of start knocking off some of the goals in that plan. The two that we identified are expanding mitigation efforts and coordination through increasing the capacity of Wildfire Adapted Partnerships, as well as increasing the capacity of their cost share program to make wildfire mitigation for private property more accessible. What we're planning for this grant is a 75-25 split, 75 paid by the grant, 25% paid by the landowner. And then the other piece that is also in the plan that will help with recovery as well as just general safety for first responders, even first responders beyond specifically fire. But we, according to our GIS department, only about 5% of addresses in the county are properly signaged with reflective signs that are in the correct locations. That's one of the priorities in our CWPP plan, is to address all of the addresses, or to sign all of the addresses. So that's the other piece that we're asking for as part of this grant, is funding to help the county implement that. With that, I guess if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I don't.
I don't either.
I know that signage has always been a problem.
Yeah, we hear it. We've heard it from everybody. We hear it from.
So
Yes.
So, Mr. Roth just walked in. I want to ask him a question since he's kind of the keeper of the signs. Here's your sign. I mean, do we have that actively displayed for people to understand? Because I know we get, or I've gotten this response before, I'm not putting up a sign, I don't want you to know where I'm at, and I'm like, might be a different situation if you start breathing and your heart stops beating. But what is the proper placement, and where is it, and where are the signs?
That's a good question. I mean, we do have on our addressing page, which I have not looked at in a while. I mean, we have our addressing standards. It says that the house numbers are supposed to be displayed in a certain format. I'd have to review that, but essentially, we haven't enforced it. There was a time period about 10 years ago when the county, we had a personnel for addressing specifically, and they were going and doing sections of road. If you go and look at County Road G, most of that is properly done. There are a handful of sections, but at the rate that we were doing it, the entire county was never going to get done by county staff. It's not an efficient way to do it. You need the manpower, you need to gear up, and you need to go out, and you need to do it in a consistent manner. So we probably do need to review to make sure that people know where to put signage. We do, every address that we do assign, we note that you can get the proper address signs either from the Cortez Fire Department or from local vendors. They do have good address signs, but it's, and occasionally, and we thank people when they call in and they want it and they ask how to install it, but that is just so rare. When we do assign addresses, we usually do it at a point of, the driveway intersection to the nearest named road. Hopefully there's an easement that we can work off of that if this goes forward, that we can install the address sign, at the edge of that easement and the private property, and don't encroach on people's private property to do so. But there's going to be a lot of PR if we actually do get this ramping up for this to make sure that people know exactly what we're doing. So there probably will be some resistance from a minority of people, I would imagine.
thing I wanted to add for that is that in our sign and addressing standards guide, it does say that all the signage is the county's responsibility as long as funding is available. So one of the things with this is to make sure that funding is available. And then I think after, assuming we were to get this grant, after signing all of the current addresses, we would want to work on a procedure to make sure that the county stays on top of it from there. And I think that would be part of kind of the sustainability of the project.
If we get this done to a certain level, then we can take it from there. And then we can maybe even internally charge for a new address, which are not charging for the address. We would charge for the sign and the labor, a fee of maybe $50 or $60 that we might propose. And then we would make sure that things get done consistently from here on out. But the backlog is significant.
Question? See, it looks like you got a question.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, we started that program back when I was commissioner before, and we started trying to go down there, and they did. They started down McComo Road and started coming this way, but it took forever, and people were so upset because their address got changed.
I think we're at a point now where we're better equipped to do it. We have a lot more of the addresses out there that we have really vetted. We've had an additional, 12 plus years to vet addresses. We know where we're at. I would not propose doing a lot of address corrections as part of this. It would be posting the addresses as they are. There may be a few that are really significantly bad, but this project would not be correcting addresses, it would be posting it, and then if we do correct addresses out of sequence, then then we would hopefully have a small budget to go ahead and post the correct signage at that time at the location, which would help ensure compliance. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll work a lot better.
yeah, you can't combine
really
those two
do.
things.
No.
We're not changing, we're just posting what's there.
Yep.
Or what exists.
Well, when they were just trying to make them correct, so that when there was a call for a certain, that they knew pretty close to where that was, because otherwise, some of them were off for
Oh, I
quite a
know.
ways.
Trust me,
So
I've
it's,
been the guy looking for an address and you skip all of a sudden 500 numbers and it's like, where did it go? We drove by it, turned around and you never got to it. It's a daunting,
well, and that's why we started that project to begin with, is trying to
Yeah.
get it corrected where they could find people, when they called, they could find them.
They can't help you if they can't find you.
Yeah. And then as it stands now, you might have, approximately, 1 out of 10 homes that actually have an address marker. And is it reflective? Can you see it at night to delineate where you are on that stretch of the road to even narrow down your location? So,
Well, hopefully our new technology and dispatch will help with that too. We'll see.
we'll see.
waiting.
Okay, sir. All right, thank you. All right, last but not least, Miss Kelly. A healthcare policy and a grant application?
We have updated it to include metal doors instead of glass doors. So that estimate has been updated because bulletproof glass is so expensive. It was cost beneficial to go with gigantic metal doors. And then Robert and Jim and I had met and really discussed the door code entrances to align with the new security system so that you can see who's swiping. It takes a snapshot and will tell you which card was read at which door. So going through and updating all of the door codes to align with the new security system.
The one other thing I wanted to highlight on that is that a lot of the door control system stuff are things that IT is planning in the future, and this will help fund that. So it's coordinated that way, and also, yeah, again, that we are the plan is to change those doors from glass to a more secure door system.
And we're talking about the 2 doors right down,
First floor
which is what we
eligibility.
asked,
Yes.
Yeah.
because we're like,
Yeah.
you're worried about that little cubby and you have a whole
Yes.
20 personnel and throw a rock through.
Push it hard enough and
Yeah.
it'll pop right open. Yes.
And the other benefit of this grant program is that it's 100% paid. There is no match as part of it.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Well, until the upgrades come. There's always a fiscal note with something, guys. Trust me.
There is.
I have learned that from sitting here for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
There is always something that's going to come back.
Absolutely.
So, let me ask you, because I'm going to ask them all. So the question, they're going to purchase the doors, or is that the installation for the entire thing? The doors, the
It includes
security,
doors, installation of those doors and of the glass. It does not include installations of the cameras or the door readers,
Right.
as IT will do all of that.
so it's the installation along with the mechanisms,
Yes.
locking, and basically finished, paint, the whole works.
I don't have paint in there. I assume that the glass pops out. The estimates for the glass in the doors are all inclusive. So the door frame, the 2 doors, and installation. And my assumption is that glass will pop right out and they'll put in the new fitted piece. And that's probably pretty naive given the look that you're giving me.
I was like, you might want to check that, because I don't think so, but
So that's what I have
I
in there.
think you're a little naive.
I'll take it.
Looking at,
Construction's not my forte.
I mean, if we're gonna ask for it to get all done, let's get it all done. Because I mean, I appreciate your numbers, but I don't think your numbers are correct.
So you want me to ask to go back and review potential shifts? So here's a question.
So-
Do I need to seek out a contractor outside of the vendor for the doors and the glass?
I don't know if you necessarily need to do that at this point in time. I think, so,
Just to clarify if it's a pop-in, pop-out situation.
Okay. So seek some clarity
Yes.
on, okay.
Or if we're gonna tear down half the wall.
well, it's all in a metal.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
all in a metal frame right now. So the concept of taking the whole door out and putting a new door in, that makes sense. But there's still a lot to go with that to get them functionable.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to just look at ugly gray doors and, I mean, I'm good with that, but what are you good with?
I was gonna paint them red.
Sure.
Valid. I will seek
Okay.
additional clarity.
All right. I have no other question. All right. That's it? Thank you, guys. All right. With that, we have concluded our work session for October 23rd. Gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you.